Hello, everyone. This is your girl, Donna D, aka the Urban Mommy, and I am back with another podcast. Today, we are going to switch it up a little bit, and I am in the car, as y'all can see. But we're going to switch it up a little bit because now we are going to be talking about some financial, some money planning, and we're going to talk about, the usuals as well. So, we have a guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Scherrie Prince. I am an asset protection coach and also an attorney. I teach entrepreneurs how to merge their business plan with their estate plan.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, like not the professional life, your regular life, your mom life, or however you got it?
Yes, I am the proud mom of two teenagers. I have a 19-year-old who's in college and a 16-year-old who's in his junior year of high school. And I'm actually a single mom. So it has not always been, glitz and glam. I know very early when my kids were younger, we had a bunch of struggles. And it was because of some of these struggles that I actually decided to go to law school and become an attorney.
Oh wow, I know that was tough. Like going to law school and having kids at the same time. That's amazing. Like kudos to you. That's big.
Well, you know what? And it's interesting because had a couple things going on. One, my family was having some issues with air property. And so we live in Mississippi, and this is like a common occurrence, throughout the Southern Belt region. And that was one reason I thought about law school. And also, I was doing mortgages and also doing real estate. And around '07, '08, when the mortgage crisis hit, I went an entire year and did not make a dime, not a single dime. And so at that point, I had two licenses and just was really unable to take care of my two kids. So my son was 6 months old and my daughter was 3 years old. And I decided to go to law school. It was something that I had considered when I was younger, and it just seemed like the best time to do it because time is going to continue to pass you by, and everybody has the same 24 hours. It's what do you do with that 24 hours?
That's so true. I remember I don't even know the name of the show. And then sometimes you know how you see something and it was because you were supposed to see it. Like it was
Yeah.
a black and white TV show that I don't know, my mom was watching it, and this had to be over 20 years ago. And the guy was telling the lady, I think she wanted to be an actress, and she said, "I want to be an actress." And so it had school involved. She said, "I want to be a doctor." And he said, "Well, you need to go to medical school." And she said, "Medical school, that's 12 years. I'll be 45 before I get out." And he said, "You're going to be 45 anyway."
Exactly.
So that made me like that kind of made me think about it. Like you can do if you put your mind to it. I mean, it's difficult with kids, of course, because like I said, I looked into law school, but law school here it was kind of like a full-time thing, and I just didn't know how I was going to do it. With my kids, I didn't think I could do it, so I was scared, and that's fear will stop you from doing a lot of things.
I mean, I'll tell anybody, it definitely was not easy. I didn't have a very close knit family to help me with the kids. There were times I had two or three babysitters because I just needed a lot of help. I went from being a professional, running a business, to making $5.25 an hour, working part time, and my daughter's daycare while I was in law school. It was tough and it was real challenging. But I had somebody share something with me, and it really kind of changed my perspective because I missed out on so much just trying to get it done for my
Right.
family as a single mom. He was like, plan your fun first because I was missing school plays. I was missing going to
Hmm.
lunch with my kids. So when I started putting their activities on the calendar first and planning around those, it made it so
Hmm.
much easier to get through law school.
That is a good point. And I worked, so I had I guess, a corporate job. I worked with for the city, and I had that job, and I missed so much because it was so much I had to do. We always had to go to community events, and I felt like I missed out a lot on my son. I mean, the pay was good, but I mean, it wasn't good enough to excuse me missing so much. So I actually found a new career, and I'm actually a broker now. So now I make my time. So I'm able to do things with my kids and experiencing better because you can have money and then you can look back on those years and see, like you said, see all the things that you missed.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying now that I still don't miss a few things, but I definitely, it wasn't like it was before. And the kids grew up so fast. So
Right.
yeah, my daughter, she's 19 and she thinks we're friends. I'm like, I'm not your friend, I'm your mom. And my son, he's kind of into girls now. So, he's not, he don't want to hug on mama and stuff and doesn't want to be around mama as much. So you definitely got to enjoy those times when they're young.
Right. Okay. So you got into law, so you do mostly like housing law, and I know you do a lot of like estate planning and stuff like that. So can we focus on that? Like there has been a huge shift toward entrepreneurship in the community. And as one myself at one point, when all that money hit me, I honestly did not know what to do with it. I did not do a good job with my money, and I'm being completely honest with you, and I'm still getting better. Like I literally just had a conversation with my friend, my coworker. We make around the same amount of money, and she was like, "Oh, what kind of car you getting?" I said, "Oh, I want a Porsche." And she said, "Oh, you clearly make more money than me." And I'm like, "Nah, not really. I'm just a little bit I'm just a little bit irresponsible." So I mean, not like to brag, but I'm just saying I want to get better with money. I want to get better with planning and make sure that my kids have something the day of tomorrow I leave. I want to make sure they have whatever they need. So can you talk a little bit about like legacies?
Definitely. Because I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and people that are wanting to transition from W-2 income to self-employment. And so a lot of what I do is mindset. One, you have to believe that you can achieve a certain level of success as an entrepreneur. And once you do that, you need to be able to know that like when you buy that Porsche, when you buy that, two-story mansion or that palatial home that you're going to buy, you have to know how to protect those assets. So a lot of what I do with my coaching program is I kind of get people in the mindset of what to do once they acquire assets, also how to maintain protection around those assets. I call it building a moat around your assets. If you've seen, what is that movie with the green guy? You know what I'm talking about.
The Hulk?
No, not the Hulk. Fiona is his wife.
Oh,
Um,
Shrek.
so remember, like in one of the movies, they were in a castle, and so you had to go inside of the castle. You had to draw the bridge and stuff. That's like a moat. So I teach people how to build a moat around their assets so that creditors can't just come and take what they have, and also so you can pass it for generational wealth. Part of that is knowing what to buy, how to buy it. And when I say how to buy it, like, do I title it in my name, in the name of my LLC? Do I put it in the name of a trust? And also knowing how to work with a team, because it's not enough just to go hire someone like me to help you with your assets. You need to know the types of questions to ask me. And part of what I do is I teach you how to ask certain questions to certain professionals. There are two or three questions you can ask a tax accountant or an attorney or financial planner to really figure out if they are the person for you. It's not that they haven't, gone through the training, gotten a license, but they may not be suited for your needs. So I help you with that as well because it really does take a team. Kind of like with raising kids, it takes a village, it takes a team for asset protection.
That is so true. And I mean, it's a little off subject, but the biggest lesson I learned going from a W-2 to the 1099 was with taxes. So that was a huge, that was big. Like I didn't know. And of course, you're getting all this money tax free. You're just spending it.
Oh
And
no.
like,
Look, there's no such thing as tax free, but I know what you're
right.
saying.
Right, and that's what I thought. I was like, oh, I get all this money and I'm just spending and spending and spending, and then the end of the year comes and they like, okay, now we need our 40,000. I'm like, wait, how much? I'm like, I don't have that. So that's a big thing. So just note, guys, if you switch from W-2 to 1099, there is no such thing as tax free. Take your money and put it on the side because you have to pay.
Well, and not just put it on the side. One thing that I do, anyone who's in business, let's just say you have you have one business. What is your primary business?
My my broke, like me being an agent.
Okay, a real estate agent?
No, I'm an insurance agent.
Okay, so let's say that that is your primary business. We're not going to count anything else that you're doing. But as an insurance broker, you need to have at least three entities associated with your business. And a lot of people think, well, I have an LLC. No, you need more than an LLC. It's like a house. Okay. You have your foundation, you have the framing, and then you have the roof for the house. And
Right.
so that's how I teach people to look at their assets. If
Mhm.
you have a family and you want to pass some things on, you might consider the roof of your framework to be a trust.
Mhm.
The frame of the building is going to be your holding company. It's going to hold everything together. And then the foundation that feeds everything and flows up would be your operating companies. And so you
Okay.
do it, yeah, you do it for a couple different reasons. One, to limit your liability in case you're sued. And
Right.
also, two, I work so closely with so many talented tax professionals. You have to have your attorney and your CPA or your tax planner, not your tax preparer, but your tax planner talking all the time. Because that $40,000 the government wanted, we could have took care of that for you. See?
Right. So would a S corp count as one of those entities? Because I do have an S corp.
Yeah, an S corp is
That
definitely,
counts.
yeah, that's going to be your operating company.
Okay.
That's the company that you're working from. But
Okay.
you need a separate company that provides zero services. Because if you provide zero services, you owe no liability to anyone. And so there are different types of ways to set it up. And depending on what industry you're in, you may have a separate marketing or management company that
Mhm.
you use to perform certain services once you reach a certain tax threshold. So those are things that we do too. And that method is called equity stripping.
Okay.
Yeah, equity stripping, like say your business has a $1 million surplus.
Mhm.
Using equity stripping, we make your business look judgment proof. All legal, all above board. They're just different things you can do to run your business.
So what is judgment proof?
So if I tried to sue you and then maybe I did a background check, on paper it looks like you don't have any money. So I may be deterred from suing you, like, you can't get blood from a turnip because it looks like you don't have any money, but you really have a surplus. But you're doing different things with your money. And so you're still
Wow.
putting it to use, but there's a smarter way to do it, even planning your purchases. If you purchase a vehicle, I know you mentioned a Porsche. So I don't know how much a Porsche, how heavy that is, but certain vehicles over a certain weight limit, if you buy them for the use in your business, you can write the whole thing off as a tax write off. And so
Mhm.
when you see people in these G
Yes, I
wagons,
think.
and yeah,
Yeah, it's the G wagons, and you have to have the big trucks. That's why actually I had the. Let me tell you this. This is the crazy part. So I learned a lot about all this stuff. I just never followed through because I learned about that law. I bought a Infinity QX80,
mhm.
but for one, I didn't know if somebody told me after I bought it. They said, "Oh, you were supposed to buy it in your business name."
See, that's why you need a tax planner. And a lot of people don't know the
Okay,
difference between a tax planner and a tax preparer. The difference is the
right,
preparer, you just take them your documents and they just put together a report for what you've done in the past.
right,
And then that's how you wind
mhm,
up in here with this huge balance. But a planner
right.
actually works with you throughout the year. So
Oh, okay. So I need to. I have a. I don't even know what I have. I don't even know what I have, but I need to ask, like,
definitely. Just
because
have the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, because I did that. I got that card just for that reason, and I never actually wrote it off. Never even did it,
Well,
but I
also
did
that
enjoy
three,
the card.
oh yeah, but a three entity strategy like a base point that I use for all my clients, and then we just kind of build from there because a lot of them have, supplemental businesses. Like, say, for instance, I have a client that has a restaurant. Well, they may also have a uniform service as well. And so the restaurant purchases uniforms for the uniform service. Or they may have a dry cleaners that cleans the uniforms. They may have a cleaning company that cleans that restaurant and all of their rental property. So there are so many ways you can get creative, um, protect your business, and pass it on as a legacy. And just do that with your team.
Okay. Um. So when you're first starting, you're doing the business. Do you suggest someone speaks with a planner and a preparer first before they start anything?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Before you file any documents to open a business, I would recommend talking to an accountant and a CPA and just letting them know the type of business that you have. And also, you
Okay.
need to have a relationship with your banker, because one thing that some new business owners do, they start business and they're undercapitalized. So they go in with not enough money to cover those taxes, fees, and things like that. You just don't think about it. But there's so
Right.
many obligations as, a self-employed individual. So definitely have those conversations first.
Have the conversations. But if you already have a business, it's not too late.
Oh no, it's never too late. You
Okay.
know, the tax cycle resets every year. And
Right.
yeah, and most states require you to do an annual report with your Secretary of State for your business. So if you
Yes.
need to amend the type of business or change it, or even dissolve it and start a new business, you always have options.
Okay. So that so explain, like, how do you fall into this? What is your role?
So my office is located in Mississippi. And if you're within the state of Mississippi, I am a licensed attorney and I can help you with legal matters. Anyone outside the state of Mississippi, I'm an asset protection coach. What I
Okay.
do is help you put together the framework. It's not legal advice, it's a framework for protecting your assets. I
Okay.
teach you how to actually select people to put on your team to help you with your journey, your asset protection journey. That may be an accountant, an attorney in your area, a financial advisor, and I help give you the tools so that you can actually go out and do a lot of things on your own. Because we think that we need to pay thousands of dollars to somebody to do a lot of this, but a lot
Hmm.
of it you do yourself. And so I just kind of help empower you to get those things done for yourself.
Okay. So, I mean, they can listen to me say it because I'm going to tell the truth. But can you tell them how how important it is to really have that? Like, is there any stories that you can tell of, some wow moments?
Yes. Now, and this may be more relatable. I had one gentleman come to me. His family had a family business. They had a gas station. And the gas station also was a distribution center for SNAP for the state of Mississippi. So SNAP is just like assistance for families through a government program. And his mother passed away. Now, mind you, it is a family business, and there were 5 people in the family, but the mom had her name on all of the paperwork. So, small town, when she passed away, the first thing the bank did was restrict access to all the accounts. They were running several $100,000 per month through those accounts from gas sales, SNAP sales, and just concessions in the gas station. So we had to go through and reformat the entire structure of the company because they had just been doing it mom and pop. She was the only person going to the bank, the only person on the legal paperwork. And so we had to do it so that if anyone passed, there would be a record and they'd be able to continue without interruption. But for about 2 weeks, they were unable to access any funds at all. So,
Wow. Now, for those listeners that are in Louisiana, I believe, I think we're the only one that kind of has a different legal system. We have the civil law here.
yes,
We're, yeah, because I'm actually a notary, so and it's difficult. Our notary test is almost like a mini law exam because it's a lot. We can do a lot here, but our law is extremely different. So I have listeners from all over, but we have so many issues like with, we call it succession. I think y'all say probate. So we have a lot of issues like exactly with homes. So we have homes and I don't want to say just black families, but families in our community, we tend to live in family homes. And when something happens, when grandma dies, or even when mom dies, like we had, of course, we had Hurricane Katrina. When they
yes,
came in with the paperwork to give people money to fix the homes, they couldn't because the homes were in names of people that died 60 years ago. And the paperwork was never in order. So that's just my lesson to everybody, to have your paperwork in order, because if something happens and they come in to give money or come in to do whatever, they're going to be looking for the people on those documents. They're not going to be looking for the kid that's been staying there for the last 40 years. And like
exactly.
I say, it's different here, but I'm sure that's pretty much everywhere with that part, right?
Oh yeah, and that's what I mentioned earlier. We call it air property.
Hmm.
That was, one of the reasons I also went to law school. My grandparents passed away without a will or a trust, and they had over 150 acres of property. And my mom had passed away prior to her parents, so my brother and I got her portion of the estate. Well,
Hmm.
of course, it would be too much like right for everybody to agree. There was, a lot of turmoil in the family about how we were going to divide the land up.
Yeah.
And that was during the period of time that the Black farmers litigation was going on, and they were
Mm,
giving, money to the families. So that was another issue that we had. But we literally had to open two estates for my grandparents, one for my grandma and one for my grandfather, just to sort that out. Because of course, the court was going to give the money from the Black farmers settlement to the estate of my grandparents. So you really got to, take the time to figure that stuff out.
definitely. And a lot of people don't think about it like when it comes to wills. And actually, I'll get back to the trust situation. Um, some people they put their life insurance policies to their kids, and if they pass and the kids are under 18, you run into issues there too. Can you speak about that a little bit about leaving like beneficiaries as kids? Like what happened? What's the procedures?
Well, and I do want to say this, it's a disclaimer. I do not like last will and testaments. I just don't.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's crazy to pay somebody while you're alive to do a will, and then when you die, your family has to pay them again to go to court and fight with
Right.
folks and put all your business on the public record. I'm a strong proponent for trust. And with trust, everything is already
It's
in the
done.
trust during your lifetime. There's a plan for who's going to be the trustee once the initial grantor passes on. And really, when somebody passes away, the last thing you want to do is have to worry about what's going to happen to the assets because the trust already has it laid out.
Yeah.
So the part you mentioned about children or minors, yes, the great thing about a trust is that I teach people also how to, put the money for life insurance within a trust or have it made payable to the trust. And so what will
Yes.
happen is you can set up a common trust for the kids. They can have a special needs trust if there's somebody that needs medical attention. If you have a child that may need medical attention for the rest of their life, or if you have a child that you can't trust with money, you can have a trustee to manage that money for them during their lifetime so that they don't
Mhm.
squander it all.
Right. I think we call it a spendthrift clause,
Yeah, it's a
something
spendthrift.
like that.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah, we have that a lot, and it's definitely needed. And I think here as well, when I think you have a disabled child, isn't it true that they have to be put into the will, right? Well, I
I'm
know here. I
Yeah,
don't know about you all, but I know we can't exclude them.
yeah, it's different everywhere, but here's the thing. Um, People always, well, I'm not gonna say always. A lot of times your mind goes to disabled children. But what about part of your heir property or property that you inherited being the subject of a divorce decree? So say for instance, you inherit your mother's land and you're married. And so now you and your husband are staying on the property, but he's the breadwinner. And in the divorce, he wants the land. I'm sure your mom didn't want your land to go to your soon to be ex husband.
Right.
So, as part of the estate plan that I help people put together, those are things we think about and
Right.
things we plan for in advance.
Okay, so with that being said, can you talk a little bit about community property?
Yes. And the state that you're in really makes a difference. So, depending on
Yes.
if you are a community property state or a non community property state, um, the legal advice that I would give you would be when you talk to your attorney, you know, do you need to do a prenup or is it okay to do a trust after marriage?
Yes.
And I tell folks, and it's not a popular subject, but I would have my life insurance in order before I go to my honeymoon. There are just so many different types of planning. But really, find out first if you're in a community property state or not, and that's going to really determine the type of entity or instrument that you're going to need to do your planning. Because, like even if you are the second, third, fourth, or fifth wife. Those are things that we don't consider either. Lots of times we'll make plans with one wife, we'll divorce, get married again, and maybe one of the spouses dies.
Hmm.
And so the first wife gets everything. Well, I'm wife number four, and I've
Right.
been here the longest, and I don't get anything. Or even after born children. If you have a blended family, maybe both of you got married and you had grown kids,
Hmm.
there are just so many things that you should plan for as an entrepreneur and as an individual.
Also, this is something that goes on in our community. We have kind of gotten away from marriage. So I know a lot of times it's, marriage for whatever reason it's that, but you got to keep in mind that marriage it's like kind of like a business, and it is your protection. So I had a situation where uh, a a close friend of mine, actually, so she was living with a guy who was divorced. Well, no, I'm like, he wasn't divorced. His wife died. His wife died. He had kids. She been living in the house with him for as long as, I guess, she's the lady had died. So maybe 10 years she's been living in the house. She gets money, she puts money into the house. He dies, she thinks she gets to stay there. The kids came in and was like, "Oh no, ma'am, this is my mama's house. This is my mom and my daddy's house. This is not your house." So she was upset and literally had nowhere to go because she had been living with him for the last 10 years. But because she wasn't married, she had no right to his property because that was him and his wife's house. It was 50% his house and 50% for the kids, basically. But
Yes.
because she didn't have the paperwork, so can you talk about, like, again, paperwork, being married, at least if you're not going to be married, is there something that they can do to protect themselves in that situation?
Well, one, I never recommend, and I know this is not the example that you gave, but first of all, if you are not married, don't purchase property with someone. Second, if you are not married and you are cohabitating, um, I would definitely get something in writing. When I say something in writing, it may be that getting the title to the home updated. So
Mm-hmm.
what he could have done is he could have deeded her a portion of his interest in the property, and
Mm-hmm.
she would have been able to file homestead, and homestead would have let her stay there. In most
Mm-hmm.
states, I know Mississippi, if you have homestead, they can't kick you out the house, but
Okay.
that would have given her the right to stay in the home until her death. So these are things that you need to consider. One, don't buy that house if you're not married. And two, find a way for your name to be on the title. Some
Yes.
people want to go sign a piece of paper and get it notarized. That's not always sufficient. A
No.
court will not always recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
Or even minimally, get a lease agreement. You might be dating, but still get a lease agreement, because what does that do? It gives you a leasehold interest in the property,
Protection.
and that
Yeah.
gives you rights. They can't just evict you if you have a leasehold. So minimally, get a lease, but if you can, try to get your name added to the title. Now, one thing that you need to consider, if the house has a mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
um, most deeds of trust have what's called a due on sale clause, which means if you try to cloud the title or change the title from the way that you purchased it while you're paying on the mortgage, they can instantly accelerate the mortgage and ask for the whole thing to become due and payable. Now, I haven't heard about that happening a lot, but that is
Mm-hmm.
an option, and it is something that you need to be
It's
aware of.
possible.
Mhm.
Yeah. So again, y'all, we're not saying that y'all need to get married, but we are saying if you want to make a big decision like buying property and you choose to do that, you have to have things in order. Because if he's the breadwinner and he puts everything in his name, and if something happens, his family can kick you out because that's his house.
Right,
If you don't have any paperwork.
exactly. And you don't necessarily have to have your name on the mortgage to have your name on the title to the house. So try to distinguish between that.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely, you do want your name on the title or minimally a leasehold interest.
Do you all have usufruct in Mississippi?
We do.
Okay, yeah, because I think, couldn't they do something like, would that be an option or something like that? Can you, well, that obviously before they die, they would have to give you, put that in the will or something that you can actually stay there until you die or something.
Yeah. And then, like, they have so many. new things now too. We used to just have like a life estate deed, which would,
Uh-huh.
automatically pass at death. But now Mississippi has a transfer on death deed as well, and
Oh
so you
wow.
have things like that. And those are really good options.
Hmm.
Even though I am an attorney, I don't advocate just coming and spending thousands of dollars with an attorney because you
Right.
have so many options. If
Hmm.
your main asset is a house and a car, I wouldn't get a will or a trust. I would get a
Right.
life estate deed or a transfer on death deed, and that would automatically pass the house at my death. And for the car, at least in our state, there's an affidavit that the heirs can sign to get the title transferred. So that's like, less than $20, I believe, the Department of
Right.
Revenue. And then the
Hmm.
file for the deed and the preparation fee, and all of that should be under $1,000
Wow.
total versus
Yeah, and
probate.
and that's what stops a lot of people from doing it because of the money. They can't afford it. They
Well,
can't
and
afford it.
but you can't afford not to.
Yeah, that's
You
yeah.
can't afford not to because what does it cost your heirs? I had one estate, and the last recorded owner of the property died in 1913.
Oh,
So, like literally, every time we have to have a
jeez.
hearing, it's taking forever to close the estate because every time there's a hearing, you have to notify everybody, or you have to
Everybody.
prove that you tried to notify everybody. So, estate planning is a lot easier than probate or the administration of an estate.
Let me say, in New Orleans, we have a lot of after Katrina, we had a lot of gentrification going on, and a lot of that gentrification actually came because of exactly what we're talking about now. So many homes were in names of people that died years and years and years ago. Like for instance, my family has a home. My aunt was living there. She died in, I'm gonna say, 96. It was her parents' home. She died at like 90, and it was her parents' home, so kind of similar to the situation you just said. So of course when she dies, she has no kids, but since it's her mom's house, they had to go to all the heirs. So whenever they send this document out, I promise you it's like 50 of us, and then some of them are deceased, so it goes to their kids. So then it's, you know it's just a never ending tree of people that who they have to send stuff to. And like you said, now the house is worth probably $500,000 because it's in a nice area, a gentrified area. The house is probably worth 500,000, but guess what? We're gonna lose the house because it's just sitting there because we can't get all 50 of us to agree to sell it, and nobody can stand up and get it because it's just. And then that's how the city comes in and all these developers come and swoop up our land. It's literally what's happening here in so many different neighborhoods. Like we don't have the paperwork.
Yeah, and that's so sad. Like in Mississippi, we have what's called a partition action. So if you don't want to be a co-tenant or a co-owner with somebody, you can go to the court and say, "Hey, I want to be bought out of this property, or I want to buy
Mhm.
the property." But in your case, like you said, if no one person can afford to get the house, that's the flip side of it because you've waited so long and the process takes so long.
Yeah,
So planning is key. If you don't
it's
have a
important.
plan, get a plan.
Yeah,
Get a plan.
yeah, because we can't buy it because you have to get people to sign off, and you know how people get with money. They think that they have something due to them, and by the time you finish dividing it up into 50, it's not that much. But they rather see it go away to the state than to work together and do something. We could put our money together and keep it as a family home, but you know, you know how things are.
Oh yeah,
So with businesses, just like we have to protect our homes, we also protect our business. Any suggestions that you speak about for that?
definitely. Depending on the type of business you have, like for instance, if you have an LLC, you
Hmm.
need to have what I call a titanium operating agreement. And all that is just an airtight agreement that spells out as many of the possible issues that you may have.
Mm.
If you have a partner. Now, in some states, depending on if you are a single member LLC or a multiple member LLC, it varies how your LLC is treated once you pass away. So
Mm.
that's something to think about. Yeah, it's something to think about because the first thing a lot of us do is say, I'm just going to go open up an LLC.
Mhm.
And if you have more than one member, it's treated differently in some states than it is if you have one member. One thing that I do with my clients who are looking to open up a new business, I take them through a decision tree. And it starts with a couple of questions. And then we start outlining that, three entity strategy. One of those
Mhm.
questions is, are you brick and mortar or are you an online business? Because it makes a difference. When you start talking about online businesses, they're different from brick and mortar. I ask if you need anonymity or not. Some people don't want people to know who owns the business.
Right.
If you're the face of the business, of course you want people to know.
Mhm.
Um, Otherwise, you may just kind of want to be low key with your assets. So that kind of informs how I build your strategies as well. And then we start talking about the type of business it is, because some businesses create more liability than other businesses. So if you are
Mhm.
a business that serves the public
Mhm.
comes to your location, okay, it's more likely that somebody may slip and fall when they walk in the door. Versus, if you're just a warehouse and you don't serve the public, but now you have a different set of concerns because you need some extra protection, maybe some extra workers' comp insurance, or
Mhm.
different things depending on the type of business you are. So that's how we kind of start building your plan and determining what sort of structures you need, and even insurance. We do an insurance review to make sure that you have the appropriate coverage.
Okay. But in per the appropriate, sorry, appropriate coverage like business insurance, you mean?
All insurance, your personal
Okay.
and business. Because some
Okay.
people think, I'm going to get this huge insurance policy, um, and that's all I need. No, because when you have a huge insurance policy, what do you have? You have a huge insurance premium to pay every month.
Premium.
So
Yeah.
part of what I do is I look at your insurance and I make sure that you have the minimum state requirements for your insurance. Instead of you getting excess insurance, we try to get you the least amount that is required per your state, or if you have a license for your profession, and then
Mhm.
we build other stuff around it. So we build in other entities and other ways to protect you. Because if I sue you, the first thing I'm going to do as a plaintiff's attorney, I'm going to ask for a copy of all of your eligible insurance to cover this claim. And so when I start seeing you got tens of millions of, dollars in
Right.
insurance, that's going to be real attractive to me, right?
Right.
But if I see that you just have the minimum, I'm like, man, this may not be worth my time, or I don't want to spend as much time pursuing this. So we help
Mhm.
you make those kind of decisions. So it does a couple things for you. It makes you look judgment proof, and then it helps your operating income as well because you're not spending so much money on insurance premiums. You're able to put that money back into your business.
Okay. So if someone sues you, can they use your personal insurance?
It depends. Now, if what you were doing is outside of the scope of the work that you do, and also a
Mhm.
lot of it, when you talk about suing you individually, there's something
Mhm.
called piercing the corporate veil. So
Okay.
you have your business over here and you're over here.
Mhm.
They're going to try to prove that you and your business are one and the same. And part of
Mhm.
what I teach you is how to keep everything separated. The biggest thing is your money.
Yeah.
When if they say that you're, acting as an individual and not as a business, and then they pull your bank records and you're buying Skittles at McDonald's and you're taking personal trips, things that are
Yeah.
not related to your business, they're going to be able to reach into your personal assets. So yeah, part
Mm.
of what I teach formalities.
Yeah, so that is important, y'all. I don't know if y'all missed that or not, but there, like I said, there's a lot of entrepreneurs now. You have to keep your money separate. That's the importance of having a business account, and not only having a business account, but actually using your business account for business. Like my CPA used to get so upset with me because I would just be using any card, whatever card I pick up, I use it.
Mhm.
Oh, here you go. I'm doing work events. I'm using my card. And he said, if something ever happens, they will say that, like you said, we're one and the same. So you have to keep it separate. So it's not your CPA or your attorney just being, all on your back. They are protecting you because you open yourself up for a lot. So a lot of us are, there's a lot of new millionaires because of social media. People are making money that they never made before. That is the same thing. You still have to keep that money separate because something happens, you are liable, and they can look in, they're gonna look into your assets.
And
There's
so,
attorneys that do that, right? That just go, not
yeah,
attorneys, but there are people that just go search and see your money.
Exactly. And you said something that's really important. I also teach people the importance of their IP or their intellectual property. When you said there are a lot of people that are millionaires because of social media, how many of y'all have reserved your name with the local Secretary of State or trademarked it? Your name has value. I mean, if
Yeah.
I can go and use Michael Jordan's name or go use the Jordan symbol,
Mhm.
that symbol alone, accounts for so much of his $3 billion
Billion.
worth, billion with a B.
Yeah.
And so it's all intellectual property. So if somebody asked me, Scherrie, if you had one asset, um, just one asset period that you owned, what would it be? I would probably say it would be the Air Jordan logo. That would be the only asset that I would need. And it's all that is intellectual property. And people, even when they sell their business, the name of your business, if you have the fanciest pizza shop in the neighborhood and you sell it, using that name, licensing that name may be worth something, but people really leave that much on the
My
table.
table. You're right. There's a guy from and that not just him that's from New Orleans. The story I'm going to tell you'll see in a minute, but he's from New Orleans and he has a dance. So he does the dance, and the football players started doing it when they made touchdowns. And now he's just a regular guy, just living in New Orleans, and the NFL announcers are saying his name. They're like, "Oh, he's doing a gritty. He's doing this. He's doing that." And like, it seems like that could be something that he could have benefited from at some point.
Yeah. I mean, he still can. Even like, for those of you who are avid sports watchers and stuff, I'm not, but I'm kind of familiar with this. Those
Hmm.
those NIL deals, name, image,
Yeah.
likeness. So you have all these young gentlemen. Oh,
Yeah.
even you have some females too, because you have female athletes. But
Yep.
a lot of these young gentlemen who are about to be making millions in college.
Yep.
How do you protect your name, your image, and your likeness?
Like,
I
yeah.
mean, an entire new area of the law, a
Yeah.
subsection has been created. And so, I mean, you have those are assets.
Yeah.
Those are assets because, I can't just go print up a shirt that says, and I'm lost for names on football players tonight. But yeah, with a football player's name on it, that name is probably protected.
Yeah. And you know what? I noticed that, and I'm not hating on nobody, but I noticed. So I don't even know how many years ago this was. This had to be around when the Saints won the Super Bowl, so I think that's like 2009, 2010. People started making all kind of Saints shirts, right? The Saints did a lawsuit. Like, y'all got to hold off on those shirts because that's copyrighted material and stuff. Of course, everybody went crazy and then they dropped their lawsuit. But since then, I have noticed that so many companies, so many businesses are becoming famous for using other people's stuff, and like nothing is happening. Like, how is that going on? Is it just because it's the lack of enforcement, or but like what's the deal? Like, there's literally, I did see one guy. He got in trouble because he was selling fake shoes on his website, and they finally found him, and Nike sued him.
Yeah, and see, so you have two things.
Hmm.
Once something becomes part of public domain, it's free
Okay.
game. There are
Okay.
what public domain is. It's usually like a number of years, or if it's something common.
Okay.
Today I was watching a reel where somebody was using something that Barack Obama said, and it was some kind of joke they were making using his words. And so he's a
Hmm.
public figure. He's in the public domain. But on the flip
Okay.
side, you have Nike and the Saints and things like that. The key is enforcement. What you're
Yeah.
supposed to do to protect your brand, as soon as you find out about it, one, you send them a letter to cease and desist, or you threaten
Hmm.
some sort of action. You give them a time frame to respond. If they don't respond, you have to take that action, or you can lose your rights to that intellectual property. So that's
Mm.
why, yeah, you can lose it if you don't enforce it. You have to you lose it. Um,
What?
yeah, one artist who was notorious. There are just stories about Prince. Anytime somebody tried to infringe on any of Prince's intellectual property rights, his attorneys were on it. You're you're getting a letter and they're following up. And then you can't just say, I'm going to do it, and you don't do it. You have to actually follow through, because
Mm,
just with formalities, if you don't keep your banking separate, of course, we can say your operation is one, right?
mm-hmm.
So if I'm able to prove that the first 10 people, the Saints didn't do anything to them, but now the Saints want to sue me, I can get the case thrown out of court. Like, well, Your Honor, it's really not protected because the first 10 people, they didn't do anything. So why are they doing it?
Mm.
So yeah, you can lose your rights if you don't enforce them.
Wow. Now see that I did not know.
Mhm.
Wow. And I guess because they have so much money, they didn't want to, they backed off. But I see businesses selling stuff all the time. Like there's one business that uses other businesses' fonts and logos, but puts his name on it. And I'm like, how can they do that? I'm like, I guess I watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm always seeing these companies come down on these people. I'm like, how can they get away with that? But I guess, like, it's enforcement and they don't see it. They're under the radar.
Yeah.
Um, what's the name of that company? We have somebody here. In fact, she moved to Mississippi. Her name is Super. She's from New Orleans. She's like a millionaire. She created this. Um, she created this makeup company, and I think she went viral because she made like $1 million in 90 minutes or something. But she's from New Orleans. She started from the ground up. Everybody loves Super, but her makeup was called the crayon case, and she had all of her makeup look like Crayola almost.
Oh,
And Crayola sent her a cease and desist, and because they said that it would it's confusing because people think that's their product. So
right.
she had to change her packaging.
Oh yeah, and that's common. Yeah, once you kind of, once you get on up there, she made $1 million, and they're always keeping tabs on
Yeah,
their competitors. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. So that's what it is. She became a competitor because now you making money. So now we like, okay, now you got to change that logo. I mean, it was similar, but I mean, I don't know. But it's not my. I understand. I guess if it was my property, I would feel that same. I would feel the same way. But like people were all upset with Crayola, like, how dare you? But like you said, I didn't know that if you didn't protect it, you could lose it.
yeah, you can definitely lose it.
Wow. See, you learn something every day. I did not know that. So that makes sense. Cause like what I'm saying, we were mad at Crayola, like, come on, man, y'all hating on this girl, but it's not that they hating on them. It's like you say, it's formality. I did
Yeah.
not know that. Okay. But yeah, so enforcement is big when you do. I just always get worried when I see people in business because, like I said, when I learned the hard way when I first started getting money, I'm not gonna lie, I got money and I did not do the right thing. So I'm gonna follow up with you as well because I need to get my business in order because I'm so used to making a little bit money and doing what I want, and now I'm making a lot of money and I can't do what I want anymore. Eventually it's gonna catch up with me, and I don't want it to catch up with me. So I need to get my business in order like ASAP.
Well, one
ASAP.
thing, in January, I'm launching a digital course, and the course is called the Entrepreneur's Estate Plan. And what it
Mm,
does, like all these tidbits that we're sharing with you today,
mhm.
um, outlining what to do and definitely what not to do to kind of get you
Mhm.
started. And so
Okay.
it's a starter course. You can actually finish it in a weekend, but it
Mm,
gives you all the pointers. And so I'll be in contact with you before it launches so you can let
okay.
your subscribers know.
Yeah, I definitely will because I think this is definitely this information is good. Like I said, we got a lot of people that have money now, and we have to know how to keep it. There's Jada Kiss has a song or something, and he says once they let you in, you're supposed to keep though. So like you get money, you got to be able to keep it because you don't want to be that person that said I used to have this and I used to have that. So
Right.
that's a part of what this conversation is, and I always hate my conversations because they always go so fast because we almost at an hour already. But I had one more question before I let you go. Two more. All right. So I wrote a book. So I'm an author and I have a book, and my book is going to be adapted into film. I know you see me pulling my head. I have a migraine.
Oh,
Um, so my book is going to be adapted into film, right? So I was talking to a guy. Actually, he was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that I probably not probably, but he told me that I needed to create an LLC for the movie. And when we get off, I'm gonna tell you what he said. I didn't want to say it online, but he told me that I need to create an LLC for the movie. Do you think that I really need to do that?
Okay, one, you need to protect your intellectual property. Does that
Okay.
mean create an LLC? Possibly. You have some
Okay.
other options, but that's a conversation that you really need to have, one with your attorney and your accountant, because, and I'm not sure where you are in terms of income, but once you
Hmm.
reach a certain level of income, there are different types of entities that work together to lessen your tax burden, but also shield you from creditors. So,
Mm,
it may be an LLC, it may be a corporation, and there may be some other things that you need to do, but you do need to protect it. Yes.
okay. All right. So that was that. And I'll remind me that tell you else what else I want to say about that. He was just giving me some little tips. So my last question that I end with everybody is I always ask if you could go back and talk to your 17-year-old self and give us some tips about life and what she would be experiencing soon, what would you tell her?
I would tell my 17-year-old self to play big faster.
Mm,
I would invest in myself more. At
mm,
17, I didn't understand the importance of having a coach or having a mentor. Having the right person to give you the benefit of all the mistakes they've made, you don't have to make those same mistakes.
right.
By investing in yourself, going to classes, not really, a formal college, but, some sort of course that may take you a weekend, it may take you a week, but it moves you faster down your journey. Um, I probably would not even be an attorney. I'd be a business person, I'd be in business, but I would have taken a different route because when I came along, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but first was like, go to college, get a bachelor's degree. Then it was like, get a master's degree, like
Right.
keep going. And I do value formal education, but
Hmm.
but now there's so many life experiences and opportunities to still make a good living.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're any less intelligent.
Right.
So I just told myself to invest in myself and to get a coach or a mentor because I did not have that. And so in some ways, I feel like I took the long way around to where I am today. And that's why I'm so passionate about working with entrepreneurs because I did take the long way around.
Okay, that definitely makes sense, and you're right. There's a lot of different ways to make money now. I tell my kids, you don't have to. I want you to go to college, but mostly for the experience, because the people that I learned, the networking that I did, the relationships I made, and some of the things that I learned. I mean, I still use it, even though I got a bachelor's, a master's, and whatever else. I'm an insurance broker, but I use all of those things that I learned in my job. Okay, so can you let everyone know how they can follow you and keep up with you? I know I'll let everybody know about your class in January, but is there anything else that they can keep up with you?
Sure. You can go to my website. It's www.scherrieprince.com, and that's SCHERRIEPRINCE. I do a webinar that teaches you how to build a blueprint for asset protection in 4 steps. And y'all, we do it in an hour. It is literally
Oh,
4 steps, and it's a free course. Takes an hour, and so you can go there and find me and sign up for that. And if you like it, I can tell you how to move further and work with me, or just get some free tools. So there's a lot of free information, and also I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. At least once a week, I'm in there giving people free tips. So if you go
mm.
to Big Faster Community in Facebook and ask to join, you can get in there at least once a week and get some free tips.
What did you say? Big faster?
Play Big Faster.
Oh, play big. Okay, I'll definitely go add that. Play big faster. Okay. I'll
Yep.
add that. Thank you. So, thank you, Sherry, so much. This has been a great session, and I hope that people were listening and paying attention and taking notes. And they can. The good thing about it, they can replay it as many times as they need to, because you definitely dropped a lot of jewels. And I think that any one of the many conversations we had, could be beneficial to someone.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. And Have a great day.
Thank you. So if the Lord says the same, y'all, I will see y'all next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.